Chapter 1086. Being hated by you is better than being forgotten by you. Qian Beibei struggled and scolded him, but this man was not angry at all. He took a glass of red wine and sat by the side, talking about everything that had happened between them. Gu Yi could not help but say to Tanghua, "Usually, the result of not doing it directly is failure. Lawyer Gu really knows a lot." Tanghua glanced at Gu Yi. "You look very experienced." No, I don't have any experience at all. I got my experience from my seniors. It's also like this on TV. Gu Yi was afraid that Tanghua would misunderstand. "Miss Tang, do you know of a saying?" "What saying?" "Villains die because they talk too much." Every time on TV, the villains will always delay doing whatever they want to do. In the end, they will not succeed. They will fail and die very miserably. Gu Yi had already clicked on another image and pointed at the person running wildly on it. Who else could it be but Luo Yiqing? "Miss Tang, aren't you here? That man won't get his way." According to Luo Yiqing's current speed and Qian Beibei's secret admirer's talkative nature, the two of them will meet in 2 minutes. He glanced at Qian Beibei, whose face was flushed red. "I'm curious what kind of medicine it is. It's so fast. Lawyer Gu also wants to do something like this?" Tanghua narrowed her eyes and asked with a smile. Gu Yi quickly shook his head. "No, I think that no matter how good this medicine is, it should be stopped. Today it's Qian Beibei, but who knows who it will be tomorrow. Qian Beibei will be saved by Luo Yiqing, but some innocent girl will be more unlucky. I couldn't tell that Lawyer Gu has justice in his heart." Gu Yi straightened his back. "Upholding justice is our duty as lawyers. System? Bullshit. This stingy guy is really good at coaxing women." Tanghua smiled and glanced at the phone screen again. Luo Yiqing had already found the door of Qian Beibei's room. She said, "Lawyer Gu, the location of the camera is really amazing." He didn't even realize when it had been installed on the other party's body. "It's very expensive." Gu Yi couldn't help but blurt out the truth. He quickly reacted and explained, "But if we work for Miss Tang, we definitely have to use the most expensive and best equipment. System. Hee, you've been exposed, haven't you? You'll never be able to change your stingy habit in this lifetime." At this moment, the sound of someone banging on the door could be heard from the phone. The two of them didn't speak again. Luo Yiqing didn't force open the door. She looked for the hotel manager and said something to him. The manager quickly opened the door. At that time, Qian Beibei's secret admirer was lying on top of Qian Beibei. He wanted to do something, but before he could, Luo Yiqing lifted him up and threw him into a corner. Then, he started to rub himself against Qian Beibei fiercely. After that, Luo Yiqing called the police. Not long after, the man was taken away. Luo Yiqing carried the dazed Qian Beibei downstairs. When they were in the car, Qian Beibei couldn't control himself and burrowed into Luo Yiqing's body. "Actually, in this situation, we can choose to send him to the hospital." Gu Yi started to analyze the situation again. He can go to the hospital and get in 4-drip. That thing is only an aphrodisiac. It's not incurable. Of course, if it's a man and a woman, they won't choose to go to the hospital. They'll go to a hotel. Tanghua supported her chin and praised, "Lawyer Gu is really experienced and knowledgeable." Gu Yi coughed lightly. "This is common sense." Chapter 1087. "I don't know. I thought it was like what you see on TV, where you can't solve the problem without doing it." Gu Yi almost spat out his saliva, but he had to maintain his image in front of his future wife. When he saw that Tanghua was silent and only staring at her phone, he stopped smiling. In the video, Luo Yiqing's car stopped and the Qian Beibei wrapped itself around Luo Yiqing. He seemed to have sobered up a little. He leaned on Luo Yiqing and cried. In the end, he couldn't help but kiss Luo Yiqing. No man could stand it when the person he liked took the initiative like this. As Gu Yi watched the video, he also observed Tanghua's expression. She was smiling as if she was watching a good TV series. He felt a little uncomfortable. The woman in front of him was so good and perfect. Why didn't Luo Yiqing know how to cherish her? "Miss Tang, I will help you. I believe in Lawyer Gu." This sentence filled Gu Yi with motivation. The two people in the video seemed to be naked. Not long after, the video screen turned black because their clothes were gone. The invisible camera hidden in their clothes naturally couldn't capture their image. However, there was still sound. Guyi saw that the situation was not right and quickly turned off his phone. Miss Tang, is this enough? It's enough. Tangwa looked away. Lawyer Gu, take your time to prepare. Wait for him to talk to me. Understood. Guyi paused and said, let me send you home. No need. I have a car. Guyi sighed and said carefully, Miss Tang, Luo Yiqing is not a man like all men. You deserve better. For example, as long as his future wife could come home with him, he would listen to her in the future. He would be very obedient and would never betray her. He would do whatever she wanted. He would treat her like the apple of his eye and would never let her suffer. Lawyer Gu, I'll take my leave first. It's been hard on you for the past 3 years. No. Guyi stood up as well. How could he say that it was hard to woo his wife? He watched as Tangwa got into her car and left. Then, he quickly drove after her. She looked like nothing had happened, but he still felt uneasy. Even if she really didn't have Luo Yiqing in her heart, anyone who saw such a scene would definitely feel uncomfortable. He was especially worried if he didn't watch her go home. Host, that fellow is secretly following you. Let him be. That's all he's interested in. System. All right, what's with this doting tone? It was the opposite. However, he could feel his host's wonderful mood, so he didn't say anything more. He observed Gu Ye's expression. There was no longer a scheming expression on his handsome face. Instead, there was deep worry. Seeing this, the system almost laughed out loud. Guyi couldn't possibly think that his host was sad, right? In this world, his host's revenge was not sincere. She wasn't sad at all. She had spent 3 years casting the net. Now that the fish had finally taken the bait, she couldn't be happier. Every time this happened, he felt that his host couldn't wait to have a drink or two to celebrate. Seeing Gu Ye's worried expression, he felt a little happy. Even if this person had a special place in his host's heart, it couldn't compare to a loyal system like him. He had the best relationship with his host. Guyi watched as Tangwa drove into the villa. Only then did he heave a sigh of relief and get ready to drive home. He wanted to talk about transmigration. Female supporting character, calm down with more like-minded people. Talk about life. Find a confidant, the peak. Chapter 1088. That night, Luo Yiqing didn't come back, because he had said in advance that they might stay up all night. Except for Tangwa, Mother Luo and Sister Luo didn't think anything was wrong. The next day, Luo Yiqing and Qian Beibei woke up in the car. They looked at each other and thought of the crazy night last night. Since things had already come to this, Luo Yiqing hugged Qian Beibei and said, I'll talk to Xiao Guo about the divorce as soon as possible. Okay. Qian Beibei lay in Luo Yiqing's arms. Yiqing, I'm finally going to be with you. I've been waiting for this day for a long time. Thinking of Luo Yiqing from last night, she understood even more clearly that there was nothing between him and Tangwa. They were just husband and wife in disguise. If he didn't love her deeply, Luo Yiqing wouldn't have waited for her for so long. From the beginning, Luo Yiqing only had Qian Beibei as his woman. I'll take you home. Qian Beibei shook her head. Just take me to the house I rented. If my mother sees it, she'll definitely tell everyone. I'll take you home after you get divorced. Okay, that's true. If Xiaoguo sees it, she'll be sad. Luo Yiqing thought of her actions last night and felt sweet and regretful. Since it had already happened, she could only solve it as soon as possible. Hearing Luo Yiqing say that she was afraid that Tangwa would be sad, Qian Beibei felt a little uncomfortable, but she didn't show it directly. After all, Yiqing was about to return to her side. Then talk to Miss Tang. Since there are no feelings, it's good for her to break up. I hope she can help us. Xiaoguo has always been very understanding. She'll agree. Qian Beibei felt very uncomfortable when she heard Luo Yiqing praising another woman. She pushed Luo Yiqing away and said, Take me back first. You should solve the problem as soon as possible. Yes. After sending Qian Beibei back to the rented house, Luo Yiqing went directly to the company. Yesterday's incident happened too suddenly. In front of Qian Beibei, he couldn't control himself at all. Initially, he had planned to get back together with Qian Beibei after the divorce. He had not expected that the accident would lead to such a result. He didn't regret it. He just felt sorry for Tangwa. Moreover, he didn't know how to bring it up. At noon, Auntie Sue brought him food again. As usual, she brought Tangwa's words of concern. As he ate the food, he felt upset. In fact, he didn't know that for the past 3 years, Auntie Sue had been saying all kinds of things about Tangwa, but they were all made up by herself. The mistress was so good. She definitely had to say a few good words to improve the relationship between the two masters. Ever since she was hired by Tangwa, she worked seriously here. To be honest, she had worked as a nanny for many families, but it had never been as comfortable as working at Tangwa's place. The salary was high, there were holidays, and the masters were very polite. Now that they had moved into the villa, in order to save her time, they even allocated a room for her and increased her salary. In her heart, she couldn't wait for the masters to get better and better. As long as she could do it and the masters didn't mind, she was willing to work here for the rest of her life. After work at night, Luo Yiqing was ready to talk to Tangwa about this matter. Unexpectedly, when he went in, he saw Tangwa, Mother Luo, and Sister Luo chatting and laughing. They were so harmonious that he swallowed his words. It was better to find another opportunity. If he said it at this time, his mother would hit him with a broom. Yiqing, remember to come back when you go out for a party in the future. Even if you're drunk, you can ask the driver to pick you up. He wanted to talk about transmigration. Female supporting character, calm down with more like-minded people. Talk about life. Find a confidant, peak. Chapter 1089. Mrs. Luo said worriedly, "We were so worried yesterday that we couldn't get through to your phone. Fortunately, we called the company in the morning and found out that you went to work." "I understand, Mom. It won't happen again. By the way, Yiqing, are you and Xiaoguo preparing to have a child this year?" Hearing this, Luo Yiqing subconsciously looked at Tangwa. He was a little nervous. He was preparing for a divorce, so how could he have a child with Tangwa? "Mom, we're already preparing." Tangwa smiled and said to Mrs. Luo, "You don't have to worry about this." "That's good." After this matter was brought up, Mrs. Luo didn't say anything more. Young people had their own plans. Old people like them shouldn't interfere too much to avoid annoying people. Her daughter-in-law was easy to talk to, so she couldn't go and cause trouble. Luo Yiqing heaved a sigh of relief. Mrs. Luo said, "Then you guys should rest early. If you want a child, you should rest well. Take care of your body and give birth to a healthy child." Tangwa stood up and agreed. She held Luo Yiqing's arm and went back to the room. Luo Yiqing turned around and locked the door. Tangwa walked to the wardrobe, pushed it open, and went directly to the room next door. That's right, they had secretly added the door later. It was because of this that they hid it from Mrs. Luo's eyes. The eldest sister of the Luo family would only come over occasionally and basically lived with her man. Mrs. Luo was a smart old lady. She wouldn't meddle in the young people's affairs and wouldn't sneak into their room for no reason. Therefore, none of this was discovered. "Xiaoguo." Luo Yiqing called out to Tangwa, intending to talk about the divorce. Tangwa turned around and said, "Yiqing, don't feel burdened. I know you're not ready yet. I'll help you hide it from Mom. We'll talk about it when you're ready. Now, you just need to rest well. You still have to go to work tomorrow." Tangwa's words made Luo Yiqing speechless. "Got it. You can rest now." Tangwa pulled the wardrobe over, but she could not be seen. Luo Yiqing sat on the sofa decadently and rubbed his head. How should he say it? Xiaoguo was so nice because she was too nice. No matter what he did, there was no way he could make it up to her. Tangwa had a good night's sleep. When she got up in the morning, the system told her that Luo Yiqing couldn't sleep next door. Luo Yiqing went to the company early in the morning, probably because she was afraid of being found out. However, Luo Yiqing's mother woke up early. When she was doing morning exercises, she saw that Luo Yiqing's complexion was not good. She even reminded her, "I told you to exercise more. Now you know how important your health is, right?" Luo Yiqing went to the company awkwardly. After hearing this, Tangwa smiled. Luo Yiqing's good days are still to come. Almost every day at this time, Guyi would invite Tangwa to a cafe. The two of them would listen to Luo Yiqing and Qian Beibei talk about their love for each other. At first, he thought that Tangwa would get angry. However, every afternoon when she came, she would eat ice cream while listening. After listening, she acted as if nothing had happened. How can it be so easy to sign the divorce papers? Tangwa wiped the corners of her mouth. Their marriage was such a big deal, so the divorce can't be too bad. Didn't they say that they can't miss it again? Since they dared to cheat on their marriage, they have to accept the consequences. This time, Gui finally heard something normal from the woman's mouth. That's right. These words were more like a woman who had been cheated on and was about to get a divorce. Chapter 1091. When Luo Yiqing came back, Tangwa was already back. Seeing Tangwa alone in the living room, Luo Yiqing quickly sat down. Xiaogua, why are you so early these days? Yeah, I've handed everything over to my subordinates. I also want to relax recently. I promised Mom that I would prepare for pregnancy, so I have to put on an act so that she won't rush me, right? Tangwa smiled and said, Yiqing, you don't have to be too stressed. Just focus on your career. I'll deal with Mom first. Luo Yiqing originally wanted to talk about the divorce, but he couldn't bring himself to say it. He was preparing for the divorce and was planning to marry Beibei after the divorce. And Tangwa was still here, helping him hide the fact that they weren't husband and wife and deceiving his mother so that the old madam wouldn't find trouble. He felt even more guilty in his heart. Just how stupid was this girl? Back then, it was silly of her to agree to marry him for his sake. Now, it was silly of her to help him hide everything. He had always thought that it wouldn't be bad to spend the rest of his life with her. Perhaps he would fall in love with her as they lived. Unfortunately, he couldn't do it. He couldn't let go of Beibei. Let's wait for a few more days. Perhaps he could slowly distance himself from their relationship and let her realize it. Then, the divorce wouldn't hurt her too much. Where's Mom? She went to Big Sister's place to play. She probably won't be back today. Luo Yiqing heaved a sigh of relief. Then rest early. It's been hard on you. You're so polite. Aren't we married? Luo Yiqing was stunned. Yes, they were already married. But now, he was thinking about the divorce. The next day, Qian Beibei met Luo Yiqing at the parking lot as usual. Seeing Luo Yiqing's silent expression, he knew that he must have failed again. Yiqing, you didn't mention the divorce to Miss Tang today? Beibei, wait a little longer. I'll definitely take care of it. Qian Beibei was not happy, but he did not want to make Luo Yiqing angry. All right, I'll wait for a month at most. That's fine. I'll wait for a month at most. It should be ready in a month, right?
Yes.
Luo Yiqing made up her mind to get a divorce within a month. Time passed in a flash. Another half a month had passed. Luo Yiqing clearly had the opportunity to be alone with Tangwa, but he failed every time. The next day, when he saw Qian Beibei's aggrieved face, he felt extremely guilty. He didn't love Tangwa, so why couldn't he open his mouth? Perhaps it was because Xiaoguo was too nice. 1.5 months later, Qian Beibei looked at the silent Luo Yiqing and said sadly, Yiqing, it's been almost 2 months. Beibei, Qian Beibei grabbed Luo Yiqing's hand and placed it on her stomach. He raised his chin and said, Yiqing, this time, you must get a divorce. I'm already pregnant. Luo Yiqing was stunned. He was happy and nervous at the same time. When he remembered that this was his child with the woman he liked, he was mostly happy. He carefully comforted Qian Beibei and said, I'll tell Xiaoguo when I get back today. Yiqing, we don't have much time. I can wait, but the child can't. If you still can't make up your mind, I might as well abort the child rather than let him become an illegitimate child and live without a father. Qian Beibei was serious. Tears fell from her eyes. I was completely unprepared. It was just one time, and I had a baby. Chapter 1092. Yiqing, I'm already 30 years old. If the baby is really aborted, Miss Tang, you're already pregnant this time. You can't run away from this, right? Guyi was very happy. Luo Yiqing was really good. She hit the jackpot right away. He glanced at Tangwa and carefully observed if she was sad. Seeing her smiling, he felt a little relieved. A man with a child. I'm afraid he's going to have a showdown with you today. Tangwa smiled and said, I've been waiting for this day. Guyi trembled. She had been waiting for this day? Could she have predicted that Qian Beibei would get pregnant? System. Of course, they all know the plot. Will Miss Tang agree to it today? Tangua looked up. It depends. How can my mother-in-law be absent for such an important matter? Luo Yiqing wanted a peaceful divorce. It was impossible. Lawyer Gu, I'll leave first. There's a big show tonight. You have to use your energy wisely. Gui felt a little regretful. He was afraid that he would not be able to watch this show. Could he peek? Forget it. If his wife found out in the future, she would definitely be angry. If anything happens, Miss Tang, remember to call me. Tangua said goodbye and left. Gui was still a little worried. After thinking for a while, he picked out a photo of Qian Beibei and Luo Yiqing from his phone and gave it to Tangua's two brothers, Tang Ming and Tang Feng. If her two future brothers-in-law knew about this, she would definitely not be at a disadvantage. Gui thought happily. In order to woo his wife, he would do this kind of thing for free. In the past, this kind of photo would have sold for tens of thousands of dollars each. If Luo Yiqing wanted to buy it back, she would have to pay 10 times the price. That night, Luo Yiqing came back very early. She should be back earlier than Tang was usual time. Beibei already had a child, so he couldn't delay any longer. When Tangua entered the villa, she saw Luo Yiqing sitting in the living room in silence. She asked, Yiqing, did something happen? Xiaogua. Luo Yiqing raised her head and moved her lips. She didn't know what to say. What's wrong? Did something happen to the company? Or did something happen? Tangua asked with concern. She walked to Luo Yiqing and said, Tell me what happened first. If there is a problem, we can solve it together. Looking at this beautiful face, Luo Yiqing felt some pain in her heart. Suddenly, he thought of Qian Beibei saying that she was pregnant. He let out a long sigh and said, I'm sorry, Xiaogua. Yiqing? Tangua looked at Luo Yiqing in surprise. Why are you saying this all of a sudden? That faintly discernible expression that something was wrong, as if she knew something, was really vividly portrayed by her. System. The drama queen has been born. Luo Yiqing's expression was very painful. She opened her mouth a few times, and finally said in a low voice, Xiaogua, what's wrong? Tangua continued and said with concern, Are you not feeling well? Why don't you rest first? Take a hot bath and sleep. System. This expression, it seems like she knows everything and just doesn't want to hear it. Anyone can feel it. Host, do you have to be so professional? No, Xiaogua. Luo Yiqing stopped Tangua and grabbed her wrist. I'm sorry, Xiaogua. Let's get a divorce. I've already prepared the divorce agreement. I won't take a single cent of the assets that are created during the marriage that belong to you. Chapter 1093. I'll give you 60% of the money that belongs to me. If you're not satisfied, you can split it. With that, he took out the divorce agreement and placed it on the coffee table. Xiaogua, if you agree, sign here. Don't tell Mom about this for the time being. If she knows about our divorce, she won't be able to accept it. Tangua stopped what she was doing and stared at the divorce agreement without speaking for a long time. System. How vivid. Her acting is so real. This woman is really good at deceiving people. You're afraid that Mom won't be able to accept it, but aren't you afraid that I won't be able to accept it? About 10 minutes later, Tangua raised her head and looked straight at Luo Yiqing, who didn't dare to look at her. May I ask why? I'm sorry. I can't develop feelings for you. I don't have any feelings for you. Xiaogua, I've already tried, but I can't do it. You're still young. You don't have to waste time on me. You deserve someone better. I gave you a chance to go back on your word, Tangua suddenly said with a smile. Luo Yiqing didn't dare to look at her. On the day we registered our marriage, I told you that I would give you a week to think about it. Luo Yiqing, what I said back then was, think it through, think it through. If you intend to be with me properly, then continue. If you don't think it's good and we got married on impulse, I'll respect you and divorce you in a week. It's been 3 years. You hit me just because you said that you don't have any feelings for me? I'm sorry. It's useless to say anything more. Tangua smiled at Luo Yiqing. Let me ask you, did you really divorce me because you can't develop feelings for me? There's no other reason? At that moment, Luo Yiqing was a little flustered. But he would never say that he divorced Tanghua because of Qian Beibei. If she said that, wouldn't it be a slap to Tanghua's face? There's no other reason. It's just that I really don't have that kind of feeling for you, Xiaoguo. I don't want you to waste any more time on me. Xiaoguo, after the divorce, find someone who loves you wholeheartedly. System, hee, a man's mouth is a liar. When the man panicked, it was really unparalleled. This face did not change color. It really sounded like it was the case. Unfortunately, Luo Yiqing met his host. Luo Yiqing, you've wasted 3 years of my time. Have you seen my efforts in these 3 years? The calmness of Tanghua made Luo Yiqing even more uncomfortable. Of course, he saw it. If he hadn't started anew with Bei Bei, he would have been willing to continue like this. However, he had already gotten back together with Bei Bei, and Bei Bei even had their child. He couldn't let Bei Bei continue like this. Their child needed to be born when their parents were harmonious. Xiaoguo, I'll give you whatever compensation you want. Tanghua picked up the divorce agreement and shook her head with an indifferent expression. Okay, let's get a divorce then. Luo Yiqing, since we're not fated to be together, I won't force you. Luo Yiqing heaved a sigh of relief. Xiaoguo, it's me. Tanghua took out a pen and signed her name. I don't have any opinions about the division of assets. She returned the agreement to Luo Yiqing. Are you satisfied now? Xiaoguo, this matter. Do you want to hide it from your mother? I think it's better for you to tell the truth. After all, I've already divorced you. Now, I plan to pack my luggage and leave here. I want to chat with more like-minded people about. Chapter 1094. Tanghua stood up. Don't stop me. If I go back on my word, we won't be able to get a divorce. Luo Yiqing swallowed the words that were about to come out of his mouth. He held the divorce agreement and felt that it was a little hot. This was clearly what he wanted. So why did he feel so sad in his heart? He wanted to stop Tanghua and say that this villa was hers to begin with. She didn't have to leave. He was the one who should leave. Xiaoguo looked very calm. The side of her that she displayed had always been strong. He didn't know how sad she would be behind his back. She was a proud person. She would never let him see her in such a sorry state. Xiaoguo, this villa is yours. Your mother likes it here. I get along well with Auntie. I remember that the company is working on a project. Can you fork out a huge sum of money to buy another villa? Auntie is old. Whatever you do in the future, you have to think about her. It wasn't easy for her to sell you out. Luo Yiqing's mouth moved, but he didn't say anything. Should he be glad that his mother wasn't in the villa today and had gone to his elder sister's place? Tanghua went up to pack her luggage. She only brought her daily necessities and pulled her suitcase down. I'll come back another day to get my other things. She walked to the entrance. When she was changing her shoes, the doors suddenly opened. Mother Luo, elder sister Luo, and elder sister Luo's husband had all come over, along with their 2 children. When they saw that Tanghua was about to leave with her luggage, they were all stunned. Elder sister Luo's family liked Tanghua very much. Her 2 children were also very close to Tanghua. Elder sister Luo's eldest son was the one who had helped him apply for school. Tanghua was the one who had helped him. Auntie, where are you going? Elder sister Luo's eldest son couldn't help but ask. It's so late. Is there anything urgent? As he said this, he felt that Tanghua's expression wasn't quite right. He looked at Luo Yiqing, who was sitting on the sofa and looking a little flustered. Did Uncle bully you? Xiaoguo, where are you going? Mother Luo quickly grabbed Tanghua. She had a bad feeling about this. Luo Yiqing did not expect this scene. His original plan was to get a divorce first and then explain things to Mother Luo. Unexpectedly, Mother Luo actually came back. Not only did she come back, but she also brought Sister Luo, brother-in-law, and his nephew. His divorce with Mimi could no longer be hidden. It was impossible for Xiaoguo to help him hide the truth. Xiaoguo would not lie to his mother. He knew that. Auntie Luo, I'm leaving. Hearing the way Tanghua addressed her, Mother Luo's expression changed drastically. She grabbed onto Tanghua and refused to let go. Xiaoguo, tell Mom. Did Luo Yiqing bully you? Luo Yiqing, did you bully Xiaoguo? Hurry and bring me my broom. Today, I'm going to help Xiaogua teach this disobedient thing a lesson. Mother Luo did not feel that Tangua had done anything wrong. If there was a mistake, it must be Luo Yiqing's fault. Luo Yiqing must have offended Tangua and committed some unforgivable mistake. Now that Tangua was addressing her as auntie, this matter was more serious than she had imagined. She thought about many things. Sister Luo hurriedly went to find a broom and handed it to Mother Luo. Mother Luo shouted, "Close the door." She held on to Tangua with one hand and raised the broom with the other. She went up and hit Luo Yiqing viciously. Luo Yiqing definitely could not resist. Seeing that Luo Yiqing had suffered a few hits, Tangua pulled Mother Luo. "Auntie Luo, Yiqing and I are divorced." "I don't agree." Mother Luo's face was full of anger. "Did he do something to let you down? Mom will help you teach him a lesson, okay? Xiaogua, be good and listen to me. Let's talk things out." She wanted to chat with more like-minded people about transmigration. Female supporting character, calm down. Talk about life. Find a confidant, peak. Chapter 1095. Mrs. Luo hit Luo Yiqing a few more times, each time hard. For Tangua to ask for a divorce, the matter must be very serious. This daughter-in-law of hers was such a good person. Was Luo Yiqing's brain muddled by shit? She actually wanted a divorce. She was going to hit him until he woke up today. Luo Yiqing did not resist. After a while, he was hit by Luo Yiqing until he cried out in pain. Mrs. Luo and Luo Yiqing were beaten very badly, but no one stopped them. Elder sister Luo and her family all felt that Luo Yiqing had done something to let Tangua down. Tangua was such a good person. If Luo Yiqing had not really offended her, why would she pack her luggage and leave in the middle of the night and even talk about a divorce? In their opinion, Luo Yiqing should be taught a lesson. Mrs. Luo was a little tired from hitting him. She asked Luo Yiqing, "Hurry up and apologize to Xiaogua. How dare you divorce him? Where can you find such a good daughter-in-law after the divorce? Yiqing, have you damaged your brain from running the company? Have you forgotten who helped you get to where you are today? Your mother, your elder sister, and the people in our village, who hasn't received Xiaogua's help. I'll beat you to death, you ungrateful dog." Luo Yiqing did not say a word. When Mrs. Luo really stopped hitting him, he said, "Mom, since you know, this is what happened. I divorced Xiaogua because there was no love between us." I'll hit." Tangua pulled Mrs. Luo, who was about to faint from anger, and said, "Auntie Luo, Yiqing and I are already divorced. There's no use hitting him." Hearing Tangua's words, Luo Yiqing looked at the bag containing the divorce agreement. She was grateful that Tangua did not go back on her words at this time. Even if he was beaten to death today, he had to get a divorce. Tangua stopped Mother Luo, who was about to hit her again, and said a lot. When Mother Luo heard that the two of them were not a real couple, she was shocked. Mother Luo didn't believe it, but after going to the room where the two of them lived, she finally had to believe it. Therefore, the daughter-in-law she was satisfied with was indeed a perfect person. However, the loving couple in her eyes was actually not loving at all. Everything was an illusion. Xiaogua liked her Yiqing, but Yiqing didn't like Xiaogua? Why didn't her son like such a good girl? She was so angry that she wanted to hit Luo Yiqing. This time, elder sister Luo also stopped Mother Luo. If they really fought again, something bad would definitely happen. They could not accept that the two of them would divorce, but with all the evidence in front of them, they had no choice but to believe it. "Xiaogua, how did I give birth to such an evil creature?" Mother Luo held on to Tangua and cried, "No, Mom won't. No matter what, you are Mom's good daughter-in-law." "Mom, I don't have any feelings for Xiaogua. I can't delay Xiaogua any longer. Xiaogua deserves someone better." Luo Yiqing, whose face was bruised and swollen, said, "Now that we are divorced, Mom, it's not like we won't be able to see each other in the future. I've already tried my best, but 3 years have passed. I can't let Xiaogua wait forever, right?" Seeing Mother Luo like this, how could Luo Yiqing say anything about Qin Beibei? If he said it, he and Beibei might not be able to be together. Mother Luo liked Xiaogua so much. She would definitely blame his divorce with Xiaogua on Beibei. When that time came, how could Beibei integrate into this family? Even if they were divorced, He and Bebe couldn't be together immediately. Mother Luo couldn't figure it out, but the two of them were going to divorce. They had already hit and scolded each other. Luo Yiqing didn't change her mind, and Tangwa had already made up her mind. What else could she do? Chapter 1096. Luo Yiqing, get out with me and stand there. Luo Yiqing had no choice but to get up from the ground and stand at the door obediently. When he turned around to close the door, he saw that Mrs. Luo was holding onto Tangwa and not letting go. He was a little worried that things wouldn't go smoothly between him and Bebe this time. Even if he divorced Xiaogua, he couldn't marry Bebe immediately. Otherwise, his mother would definitely hate Bebe. Now that Bebe had a child, they couldn't possibly still rent a house. They couldn't get married for the time being. It was better to buy a house that belonged to the two of them and let Bebe take care of the baby in peace. Mrs. Luo was still angry. She held on to Tangwa and didn't let go, thinking about how to get back this good daughter-in-law. She had no idea that her good son had already planned how to raise his woman and child. Xiaogua, do you really want a divorce? Mrs. Luo's face was pleading. Mom likes you the most. Can we not divorce? 1 ton. 1 ton and 1 t/I. Tangwa smiled and shook her head. Auntie Luo, I liked Yiqing from the beginning. My marriage with him was also an accident. I spent 3 years on him, and I also waited for him for 3 years. This time, he's the one who asked for a divorce, not me. As for me, I've waited for 3 years. There's no difference if I wait a few more years. As long as Yiqing slowly accepts me, what's a few more years? A few days ago, I felt that he might be planning to divorce. Xiaogua, don't listen to him. His brain isn't working well. He must have become stupid from work. Mrs. Luo didn't want to believe that her silly son didn't know how to cherish such a good girl. Where would he find such a good girl in the future? But I can't bear to part with you. Tangwa held Mrs. Luo's hand and comforted her. Auntie Luo, feelings can't be forced. Yiqing said that there's no need to wait any longer. He used 3 years and still didn't develop any feelings for me. Auntie, we're not a real couple. What's the point of continuing to be tied together? Don't you want a grandson? If Yiqing doesn't like me, doesn't that mean you can't have a grandchild? After we divorce, he can find the girl he really likes. At that time, Auntie will be able to hold her grandson as she wishes. Mrs. Luo shook her head. My grandson is not as important as you. The other girls were not as good as this one. Their children were not as good as Xiaogua's. I'm very happy to hear that from Auntie. At least, after all these years of getting along with each other, I'm still very likable. Tangwa lowered her head. However, feelings can't be forced. Auntie, Luo Yiqing has never liked me. If I continue to be with him, there will be no good result. Mother Luo still refused to let go of Tangwa. She pulled her aside and talked to her a lot. During this time, elder sister Luo's family also tried to persuade her. Luo Yiqing knelt at the door of the villa and did not dare to sneak up. If she could not get past this today, she would not be able to get past it in the future. Mother Luo did not sleep the entire night. Sister Luo and her husband were in the room discussing it the entire night. They were all talking about how her brother's brain had suddenly become muddled. He actually wanted to divorce such a good girl, and even said that he had no feelings for her. Sister Luo's 2 sons also sighed the entire night. In the future, Tangwa would no longer be their aunt. The new aunt would definitely not be as good as her. In fact, in their hearts, they were even a little against the new aunt in the future, no matter who that person was. In the morning, Luo Yiqing went to the office. When Tangwa went downstairs, she saw that Mother Luo and Sister Luo were both there. The whole family looked at her in unison, as if they were afraid that she would leave. Xiaogua, come and eat. Mother Luo quickly came up and held Tangwa's hand. Chapter 1098. After breakfast quietly, Sister Luo's husband had to go to work and her 2 sons had to go to school. Mother Luo and Sister Luo didn't go out to play. They stayed in the house and watched TV with Tangwa. After saying so much yesterday, Mother Luo couldn't find anything to say. Her good son was going to get a divorce. What could she say to Tangwa? Luo Yiqing was going to get a divorce. She couldn't expect that the girl wouldn't leave, right? Tanghua was a good girl, but she wasn't that thick-skinned. She could only blame Luo Yiqing for not cherishing her. Auntie, if you want to go out to play, then go out. I promised you that I won't leave for a few days. Mother Luo shook her head. No, I want to spend more time with you now. I don't know if there will be such a chance in the future. There will be many such opportunities. We are all in the same city. Isn't it easy to meet? Yes, it was easy, but the nature of it was different. Mother Luo thought to herself that anyone would want to marry such a good girl. In the future, when she talked about Tanghua, she couldn't say that she was her good daughter-in-law. Maybe another old lady would say in front of her that she wanted to thank her Luo Yiqing for giving them such a good daughter-in-law. She was afraid that she would die of a heart attack at the thought of that scene. I will come to see you often in the future, Tanghua said. If Luo Yiqing marries the girl he likes in the future, then I will have to come less often. Auntie, if you want to chat with me, you can come to my shop. Mother Luo's eyes were hot. No one could compare to Xiaoguo. Luo Yiqing was a rascal. At noon, Qian Beibei couldn't help but meet Luo Yiqing. The two secretly met in the underground parking lot. Yiqing, did you tell him? Qian Beibei was eager to know the result, so he ignored Luo Yiqing's embarrassed expression and held Luo Yiqing's waist. Have you talked about the divorce with Miss Tang? Yes. Luo Yiqing recalled the scene last night and sighed. She agreed. We wanted to get a divorce secretly, but I didn't expect my mother to come back. Qian Beibei had a bad feeling. So, there's no divorce? Yes, Xiaoguo has already signed the divorce agreement. We can go through the procedures another day. For the sake of our future, no matter what my mother says, I will not compromise. Hearing Luo Yiqing's words, Qian Beibei breathed a sigh of relief. Yiqing, you're so nice. Yiqing, we can finally be together openly. When you get your divorce certificate, can we get married? Last time, because of my mother, we were separated for so long. This time, we must have a lively wedding. Qian Beibei lay in Luo Yiqing's arms and talked about the beautiful future she envisioned. Suddenly, she found that Luo Yiqing was not as happy as she had imagined. Instead, she was very quiet. Yiqing, what's wrong with you? Aren't you happy that we can be together? No. Luo Yiqing held Qian Beibei's hand and touched her cheek. Beibei, we can't have a wedding for the time being. Qian Beibei was unhappy. You and Miss Tang are divorced. Why can't we have a wedding? I don't think my mother will agree. Luo Yiqing told the truth. She is very unhappy about my divorce with Xiaoguo. In order to show my attitude, I even knelt in front of the door all night. Chapter 1099. If I marry you right after our divorce and hold a wedding ceremony, my mother will definitely make a fuss. She'll definitely think that I divorced Xiaoguo because of you, and she'll blame everything on you. Luo Yiqing hugged Qian Beibei and said in a low voice, Beibei, you have a child now. If my mother misunderstands, life will definitely not be easy. My plan is to buy a house first, a home that belongs to the two of us. You can rest at home and take care of the baby. When the child is born, my mother will almost forget about Xiaoguo. She really wants to hold a grandson. When the time comes, we can hold a wedding ceremony. She probably won't be so against it. Qian Beibei felt uncomfortable, but he felt that what Luo Yiqing said made sense. If they got married right after Luo Yiqing got divorced, it wouldn't be good if word got out. Okay, then I'll rest at ease and take care of the baby. We'll talk about it after the child is born. However, before the child is born, we have to get a marriage certificate. Yes, that's for sure. Qian Beibei felt much better when he saw that Luo Yiqing agreed so readily. He asked again, when are you going to go through the formalities with Miss Tang? In the next 2 days. When my mother isn't paying attention, I'll go with her to get it done. Then after we're done with the formalities, we'll go look at the house. After 2 days, Mrs. Luo had an appointment with someone and had no choice but to go out. Taking advantage of this time, Luo Yiqing asked Tanghua to go out to get the divorce certificate. Of course, Tanghua agreed. The moment she received the divorce certificate, she asked Luo Yiqing, Yiqing, are you really divorcing me because you can't develop feelings for me? Is there no other reason? Of course. Luo Yiqing didn't dare to look at Tanghua. She laughed. Okay, if that's the reason, I'll accept it. I Ching, there are many things that can't be undone once they happen. You have to think clearly when you make every decision. From today onwards, you and I are emotionally involved. The only connection is the company. Xiaogua, if you think it's not right, what other requests do you have? I can do it. Tanggua glanced at Luo Yicheng. I used to really like you. I thought that time could change everything, and we could continue our relationship. Now that you've said so, I also want to save face. There's no need for me to get involved. Well, since you said so, I won't hold back. Tanggua paused and said, according to the company's share distribution, I should be the largest shareholder of the company, right? Yes, if Xiaogua wants the management rights of the company, I have no objections. He felt that he had let Tanggua down in this matter. Tanggua shook her head. No, you can still manage the company. It's enough for me to have the shares. I don't have the energy to manage those things. My only request is that you work hard and earn more money for me. All right, I'll work hard to earn money. Tanggua, who held 76% of the company's shares, felt wonderful, especially when she thought about having a cow who didn't know how to rest to work for her for the rest of her life. Her mood became even better. Qian Beibei would become Mrs. Luo in the future. She would be glorious in front of others, but no one would know. Luo Yicheng had worked hard for most of her life. In the end, most of the money would go into her pocket. What about her two brothers' pockets? She wondered if they would be angered to death. A woman without love will only have money in her eyes in the future. Tanggua looked at Luo Yicheng faintly. Yicheng, you can't give me love. I hope that you can earn more money for me. This is my only request. Is that okay? Chapter 1100. Of course. Xiaogua, I will definitely make the company bigger and bigger. I guarantee that you will be richer and richer for the rest of your life. When he heard that Tanggua only wanted him to work hard to earn money, Luo Yicheng felt even more guilty. No matter what, he had let this silly girl down. When he heard Tanggua say that she only had money in her eyes, he felt a little sad. He didn't say anything else. She would definitely find a better endurance. Luo Yicheng was just too unlucky to have met him. It was also because of his hesitation that she didn't believe in love and only had money in her eyes. He couldn't give her love, and he couldn't be with her. Since she wanted money, he would use his whole life to work hard and make the company bigger so that he could earn more money for her. System, you're only willing to be a cow. It had to be said that the host's move was really smart. Luo Yicheng was willing to be a money-making machine, and the host didn't pester him anymore. She even divorced him straightforwardly. It didn't seem like much, but in reality, Luo Yicheng's heart would be filled with guilt for the rest of his life. In the future, if Qian Beibei had any objections, Luo Yicheng would definitely say, Beibei, I gave all my love to you. Xiaogua helped me so much and sacrificed so much for me. She even waited for me for 3 precious years. But I still can't forget you. I let her down. She helped us, so I must use my life's work to contribute to the company and earn more money for her. Beibei, I hope you can understand me. My love is all yours. I can only compensate Xiaogua with something as mundane as money. Hearing this, Qian Beibei didn't even have a chance to refute. She couldn't say that she also wanted something as mundane as money. Wouldn't that be slapping Luo Yicheng in her own face? When it thought that Qian Beibei would be upset, the system was secretly delighted. Okay, I believe in you. In terms of career, you will always be the best. Even in this situation, Tanggua still praised him. Luo Yicheng was flustered. I'm sorry. There's no need to apologize. Since you don't love me, it's right to let go now. Tanggua waved her hand at Luo Yicheng. Well, I'm leaving. I still have to check on my stores. I hope these stores can bring me more benefits. Luo Yicheng watched Tanggua drive away. She clenched her fists tightly. A hint of sadness appeared in his eyes. It was he who had forced a pure and kind girl to the point where she would only be willing to be with money in the future. However, other than working hard to earn money, what else could he do for her? Luo Yicheng left with a heavy heart. Not long after, he received a call from Qian Beibei asking if he had gotten the divorce certificate. For the first time, he was a little annoyed by Qian Beibei's urgent questioning. It's done. His tone was a little cold, but Qian Beibei didn't notice it. She only knew that Luo Yiqing was now single, and they could be together openly. Not long after, Tangguo received a call from her two brothers. Hearing their angry voices, she comforted them. Big brother, second brother, don't worry. I don't like him anyway. Let's get a divorce. He didn't take a single cent of my assets. I even took 60% of his assets. How is 60% enough? Tang Ming said unhappily. Xiaoguo, do you know why that guy divorced you? He got together with that Qian Beibei again, and they even had a child together. He obviously cheated on you. It's more like he left with nothing. Chapter 11:01. Tangguo narrowed her eyes. Big brother, second brother, I think it's better not to leave with nothing. If we chase him out of the company, where can we find someone who can make so much money? I'm still waiting for him to make a lifetime of money for me, the kind that will last me until I die. Tang Feng understood the meaning behind her words. Little sister, what are you thinking? That guy cheated on you. Do you want second brother to find someone to put him in a sack and beat him up first? Don't. My good brothers, don't cause trouble. Don't touch him. If you break him, who will make money for me? Tang Feng, Tang Ming, was there something wrong with their little sister? Didn't they say that their little sister liked Luo Yiqing and didn't care about anything else? Little sister, don't you like him anymore? Tang Feng asked. Tangguo replied, I've long stopped liking him. Big brother, second brother, I'll tell you the truth. I've long known that he and Qian Beibei are together. Then why didn't you tell big brother? Tang Ming was a little angry. If you had told me earlier, I definitely wouldn't have let him off. It's meaningless to tell him. Doesn't he like Qian Beibei? Is it true love between the two of them? Then I'll fulfill their wish. Tangguo's voice was a little cold. I hope they will like the gift I've prepared for them. Gift? Tang Ming was puzzled. Tangguo laughed out loud. The Luo family, the people of Luo village, and the people in the company. Big brother, second brother, do you think these people like me? Of course they like you. Our Xiaoguo is the best. If they knew that Qian Beibei was the reason for my divorce with Luo Yiqing, would they have a good time? Tang Ming and Tang Feng looked at each other. It would be strange if they had a good time, especially that mother of Luo. She would make a mess. He had heard that mother of Luo would attend all kinds of gatherings and talk about how good Xiaoguo was. They were also happy to hear these words. The two of them thought about it in their minds. After Qian Beibei entered the Luo family, the days, just thinking about it made them shiver. Could Luo Yiqing really bear the consequences? Little sister, you've grown up? Tang Ming sighed. Tang Feng added, looks like our little sister won't be bullied so easily. The two of them were quite happy. They knew that their little sister had been doing some strange things for the past 2 years. They didn't lack reputation or anything. Why would his little sister deliberately build a good reputation for herself? It turned out that she was digging a hole for Luo Yiqing. In that case, his little sister was not stupid. In fact, she was extremely sinister. Yes, she was indeed a member of their family. So, brothers, please don't do anything big. If you're not happy, just beat them up a little. Tang Ming coughed softly. Got it. We know our limits. We won't spoil this perpetual motion machine for you. I guarantee that it will obediently make money. Brothers, can you help me talk to Dad and Mom about it? Little sister, we can't help you with this. You can talk to them yourself. I want to think about how to teach Luo Yiqing a lesson with your second brother. With that, Tang Ming hung up the phone. The two of them thought about it and looked for Guyi to ask about Luo Yiqing and Qian Beibei. Yes, I have any news about Qian Beibei and Luo Yiqing. I wonder what Mr. Tang is interested in. I want everything. Lawyer Gu, name a price. No matter how much it is, it's fine. Guyi smiled as he held the receiver and said, $10,000 then? How could his first and second brothers-in-law earn money by asking for things? It was just a gesture. $10,000? Tang Ming and Tang Feng were a little incredulous. This Gu Kuka's photo was worth $10,000, right? Could it be that he had earned enough money? Chapter 11:02. Tang Ming and Tang Feng got all the information about the relationship between Qian Beibei and Luo Yicheng. They even got their hands on Qian Beibei's pregnancy test report. They had only transferred $10,000 to Gu Yi, but they still felt like they were dreaming. This stingy guy, has he really earned enough money? Tang Ming asked. Tang Feng shook his head. Who would complain about having too much money? Especially a stingy guy like him. I think he's doing this because he wants to get married and have children or something. He wants to accumulate good karma for himself. That's true. I heard that he's already 30 years old and there have never been any rumors of him being in a relationship. With his stingy personality, would any girl like him? Wouldn't she be schemed to death by him? Tang Feng said disdainfully. Tang Ming nodded in agreement. Then, the two of them flipped through the information about Qian Beibei and Luo Yicheng. They were thinking about how to expose the two of them. He bullied their sister, stepped on their precious sister, and got married. How could there be such a good thing in the world? Luo Yicheng thought that everything would be fine after he divorced Tanghua. Now, even Mother Luo couldn't do anything to him. After getting the divorce certificate, he went back to see Mother Luo. When Mother Luo and Sister Luo saw the divorce certificate, their expressions were indescribable. Especially Mother Luo. She almost jumped up and slapped Luo Yicheng. She had only gone out for a while, and this brat had already gotten the divorce certificate. Mother Luo almost fainted from anger. Luo Yicheng knelt by the side without saying a word. Mother Luo couldn't do anything about her stubbornness. Mom, I'm doing this for Xiaoguo's sake. I can't delay her any longer. Mother Luo didn't say anything. She just sat on the sofa with her eyes closed. Luo Yicheng didn't dare to leave. She continued to kneel by Mother Luo's legs. After a long time, Mother Luo finally opened her eyes. Yicheng, what you did really disappointed me. I'm sorry, Mom. Mrs. Luo shook her head tiredly. Yicheng, Xiaoguo is such a good girl. You will regret it. If you miss her, you'll never find another girl as good as her. Luo Yicheng remained silent. He knew that Xiaoguo was a good person. However, he had no feelings for Xiaoguo. No matter if it was in the past or now, the person he loved was Beibei. Beibei wasn't as pretty as Xiaoguo, nor was he as outstanding as Xiaoguo. His family background wasn't as good as Xiaoguo's either, but he still liked him. For some people, once you like them, you like them. For some people, if you don't like them, you don't like them, no matter how good they are. Mom, I'm sorry. Mother Luo waved her hand. Forget it. My son has grown up. This is your own choice. I've already tried my best to stop it. You'll regret it in the future. Luo Yicheng thought, how could he regret it? By doing this, he could stop his losses in time and give Xiaoguo a chance to find someone he liked. He could also be with the person he truly liked. He wouldn't regret it. Mother Luo saw Luo Yicheng's expression and knew what he was thinking in his heart. Get up. Apologize to Xiaoguo properly. This girl is nice and has a good temper. If it were another girl, I'm afraid you wouldn't be able to stay in this city anymore. Mother Luo wasn't a fool. After attending all kinds of gatherings over the years, she understood more and more what kind of people the family Tang was. They were an existence that could shake the city a few times. It would be too easy for them to suppress Luo Yicheng. It was also because Xiaoguo didn't do that because of their old relationship. Now that there was no news from the family Tang, it was most likely that Xiaoguo said something to let her son go. Chapter 1103. Mother Luo finally accepted the fact that Luo Yicheng was divorced. Sister Luo was still dissatisfied, but she couldn't say anything. Tanghua was going to leave, but Mother Luo said that she wanted her to stay for a few more days. If she suddenly left, she might miss her and be very unused to it. Tanghua agreed. In the following time, Tanghua still accompanied Mother Luo to various gatherings. Mother Luo felt better when she saw that Tanghua was still close to her. But when she thought that this was no longer her daughter-in-law, she felt very sad. Now that she introduced her to others, she didn't dare to proudly say that this was her good daughter-in-law. Xiaoguo, does your family know? Mother Luo thought of those people at the gatherings. They didn't talk about Tanghua and Luo Yicheng's divorce. Tanghua said, they all know. Then, Aunt Luo, don't worry. I've made it clear to my family. A marriage without feelings is meaningless. I've spent 3 years, but I can't make Iching have any feelings for me. It can be seen that he really doesn't like me. My parents aren't unreasonable people. I've explained the situation to them. They won't do anything. Mrs. Luo's heart ached, but she felt more at ease. Our Luo family has let you down. Why are you saying this? In the future, we'll be relatives. Moreover, I have business dealings with Luo village and Sister Luo. How can we be strangers? Mother Luo had a slight smile on her face as she patted Tangwa's hand. Yes, how can you say that we're strangers? Mother Luo didn't know that at this time, Luo Iching was taking Qian Beibei to sell a new house. After a few days, he bought a high-end community. It was a luxury house. Within 2 days, Qian Beibei quit his job and moved in. After the two of them moved into their own house, Luo Iching rarely returned to the villa. Luo Iching's mother had already devoted herself to work. She didn't want to return here to be awkward. After all, there was also Luo Iching's room in the company's dormitory. Luo Iching's excuse was that he had been living in the company. Just like that, a few more days passed. Mother Luo was invited to a party again. Suddenly, she felt that there were many familiar faces at the party were looking at her strangely. They seemed to be full of disdain and ridicule. Mrs. Luo felt that something was amiss. She pulled a person she was close to and asked, "Mrs. Li, what's wrong with them? What happened?" "You don't know?" Mrs. Li looked at Mrs. Luo in surprise. Seeing Mrs. Luo's surprised expression, she suppressed the disdain in her heart and said in a low voice, "Mrs. Luo, I don't want to criticize you, but your family's Iching is so lucky to have met Miss Tang. We also know that this man really likes to go out and flirt with women. It's fine if it's someone else, but what's going on with your family?" At this time, the news of Tanghua and Luo Iching's divorce hadn't spread yet. This could be said to be intentional by Tanghua and Luo Iching, and Mother Luo didn't want to publicize it. Family Tang didn't do anything for the time being because they heard Tanghua's words. Mother Luo had a bad feeling. What's wrong with our family's Iching? Recently, Iching has been busy with the company's affairs. He eats and sleeps in the company. How could he be fooling around? "Mrs. Luo, I'm afraid he's keeping this from you." Mother Luo took a deep breath and asked anxiously, "Mrs. Li, please tell me the truth. What's going on?" Chapter 1104. Mrs. Li looked around and pulled Mrs. Luo to a corner. She said in a low voice, "A few days ago, someone saw Luo Iching with a woman in a high-end neighborhood. At first, that person thought they saw wrongly. For a few days, where did Luo Iching live? Mrs. Luo, for Iching's sake, you'd better go back and ask. Miss Tang is such a good person. If it's true, then Luo Iching is in the wrong." Mrs. Luo didn't believe her. She didn't think her son was that kind of person. But the people around them were talking, and their voices were getting louder and louder. She had to be careful. She said goodbye to the people she knew and left the party in a hurry. She didn't call Luo Iching immediately. If there was such a thing, Luo Iching would definitely not admit it. She might even cover up that woman tightly. After thinking about it, she decided to secretly find out the news first. Xiaoguo and Iching were already divorced. She definitely couldn't ask her about this. She didn't feel at ease with other people. After all, she didn't want to wash her dirty linen in public. In the end, she chose to call Sister Luo and ask her son-in-law to find out if Luo Iching really had a woman outside. Sister Luo's man had been doing well these years. When he heard Mrs. Luo's words, he was already very dissatisfied with Luo Iching's inexplicable divorce. Every time he hugged his beautiful wife in his arms, he would be especially grateful to Tanghua. If his wife hadn't become more and more beautiful, he wouldn't have wanted to fight for it. If he didn't fight for it, how could he have such a good life today? Such a good girl had been ruined by his brother-in-law. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. He asked his friends and finally found Guyi. Sister Luo's man had some money. Now that the matter was very serious, he didn't care about the money. He bought a lot of information about Luo Iching from Guyi. When he saw everything in the file, he was so angry that his face turned red. Without caring about anything else, he took the things inside and placed them in front of Big Sister Luo. When Sister Luo saw this, she slammed the table angrily. This Luo Yiqing has really grown up. No wonder. No wonder she insisted on getting a divorce. So it's because of Qian Beibei. They even had a child. How many days has it been since their divorce? Sister Luo was furious. I finally understand. He didn't divorce because he couldn't develop feelings for Xiao Guo. It was because that bitch, Qian Beibei, seduced him. What should we do now? Do you want to tell Mom? Big Sister Luo grabbed her man's ear. Can you not say such a big thing? At that time, the two of them brought the things in the file to the villa to look for Mother Luo. It was daytime, so Tangguo was not around. When Mother Luo saw what was inside, she was so angry that she fell backwards on the spot. She had thought that Luo Yiqing didn't want to delay Tangguo, but it turned out that he had been involved with Qian Beibei all this time. Now, he had gotten her pregnant. Calculating the time, this was definitely an extramarital affair. Mother Luo couldn't care about anything else. She immediately called Luo Yiqing. She called him a few times before he picked up. Luo Yiqing, get back here right now. Mom, what's wrong? Come back. If you don't come back right now, don't acknowledge me as your mom anymore. Luo Yiqing had a bad feeling about this, but he still returned to the villa immediately. Mother Luo was still very important to him. He hurried back to the villa. As soon as he entered the house, he was slapped in the face. He was a little confused. When he looked up, he saw Mother Luo's angry face. Chapter 11:05. Yiqing, I thought you had improved. I really thought that you didn't want to delay such a good girl like Xiao Guo. I didn't expect that you divorced because of Qian Beibei. Luo Yiqing's heart skipped a beat. How did his mother know? Even Tangguo didn't know about this. He and Qian Beibei were very careful. In order to have a better life in the future, he even asked Qian Beibei to go out less. It had been almost a week since the divorce, but he didn't announce it. Xiao Guo also didn't deliberately announce it. So how did his mother know about this? Mother, break up. Break up with Qian Beibei quickly. Even if the Luo family doesn't have such a good daughter-in-law like Tangguo, we can't just accept anyone. She was a shameless woman who seduced her son and daughter-in-law while they were still married. How could they accept such a woman? To put it nicely, they still had feelings for each other. To put it bluntly, she was a mistress who destroyed other people's families. There was almost no woman who didn't hate a mistress. In the village, if such a mistress who casually seduced others appeared, she would be pointed at and scolded for the rest of her life. 1 ton. 1 ton and 1 t/I. How could such a shameless woman become her daughter-in-law? Go and make it clear to Qian Beibei that the Luo family doesn't welcome her. Luo Yiqing shook his head. Mother, Beibei and I are truly in love. Last time, we just missed each other by a freak combination of factors. It wasn't easy for us to get together again. Now that she has my child, how can I separate from her? Mother, don't you want to have a grandson? Beibei is already several months pregnant. Soon, you can have a grandson. You won't be so cruel as to ask Beibei to have an abortion, right? Facing her son's words, Mother Luo felt like a fishbone stuck in her throat. She hated Qian Beibei to the core, but she really couldn't say that she wanted Qian Beibei to have an abortion. Moreover, Mother, I have already registered my marriage with Beibei. Now, we are legally married. This time, Luo Yiqing really made up his mind. He didn't expect that Mother Luo would know so soon. He rejoiced in his heart that he and Beibei had secretly registered their marriage 2 days ago. Otherwise, this marriage might not have been possible. Now that the truth was out, his mother couldn't possibly object, right? Luo Yiqing's mother was so angry that she fell backwards. Big Sister Luo hurriedly supported her while talking to Luo Yiqing to admit defeat. But at this time, Luo Yiqing was unusually determined. He still remembered that it was because of his parents' interference that he and Beibei hadn't been able to get married. Right now, the obstacle was his mother. This time, no matter what, he couldn't miss out on Beibei. He already had the ability to protect the feelings between them. No matter who it was, they couldn't destroy it. Mrs. Luo's face was full of disappointment. She was afraid that she had given birth to an evil child. Get out, Get out of my way. Mrs. Luo angrily threw everything at Luo Yicheng. Luo Yicheng had no choice but to temporarily leave. As he left, he said, "Mother, Bebe and I really like each other. I really don't have any feelings for Xiaoguo. Don't be angry. Calm down first." Get out. Tanghua sat in the coffee shop with her eyes slightly closed, allowing the system to broadcast everything that happened in the villa to her. Seeing that Mother Luo was so angry that she didn't say anything and Luo Yicheng was so determined to leave, she chuckled. Does he think that if he persists, he will definitely get Mother Luo's approval? System. Wishful thinking. I'm guessing that he will announce to everyone now that he has a wedding. For the sake of Qian Beibe's reputation, he will definitely do this. Chapter 1106. Sure enough, when Luo Yicheng returned to the company, there were already people who knew about his relationship with Qian Beibe. He took the opportunity to say, "I've already divorced. My legal wife is Qian Beibe now." Luo Yicheng's strong announcement made everyone stop talking on the surface. Humans love to gossip. It didn't take long for them to dig out the date when Luo Yicheng and Tanghua divorced. Then they combined it with the time Qian Beibe was with him and the month of the child. They were speechless. Wasn't this cheating? Luo Yicheng was the boss of the company, so they didn't dare to talk about it in front of him. After all, everyone had to eat. But in their hearts, they despised Luo Yicheng very much. Of course, they despised Qian Beibe even more. Within a few days, Luo Yicheng and Qian Beibe rekindled their old relationship and even had a child. Everyone in Tanghua's circle knew about the fact that she had raised Qian Beibe. Moreover, they clearly dug up the matter of Luo Yicheng being embarrassed by the Qian family back then. Everyone was secretly cursing Luo Yicheng. They pitted Tanghua, who was innocent and had contributed silently. Those people in the company who had received favors from Tanghua were extremely angry. They all felt that it was unfair for Tanghua. When it was time to get off work, the young men and women who had left Luo village all came to Luo Yicheng's office. Seeing them like this, Luo Yicheng rubbed his eyebrows and asked, "What's wrong?" "Brother Yicheng, you've really gone too far," these young women said. "Xiaoguo is such a good person. You actually did something to let her down. You've really disappointed me." "Brother Yicheng, how could you do this to such a good girl like Sister Xiaoguo? She's such a good person. You actually divorced Sister Xiaoguo for another woman." The young men were also very sad. "Today, we have to say something for Sister Xiaoguo. Brother Yicheng, you've really let Sister Xiaoguo down. You've gone too far. Sister Xiaoguo is really too good. Even so, she can't bear to hurt you. It's obvious that she really likes you. But you're hurting her. You even had a child with another woman behind her back. You found an excuse to divorce her. No wonder Sister Xiaoguo hasn't been home recently. What's so good about that Qian Beibe?" Luo Yicheng accepted the criticism of countless people. After these people finished speaking, he received condolences from everyone in Luo village, which exhausted him. He only wanted to say that he was only with the person he originally liked. What was wrong with that? Yicheng's words. He planned to tell Qian Beibe about what had happened today and seek comfort. He didn't expect to see Qian Beibe's pale face as soon as he entered the house. She looked like she had just cried. He quickly perked up and comforted her. "Beibe, what's wrong?" "Yicheng, when I went out today, many people were pointing fingers at me. Some people who were familiar with me even called me to ask me how I managed to climb up the ranks as a mistress. Yicheng, these people are really too much. We clearly met first. We only got married after you and Miss Tang divorced. They just can't bear to see me doing well." Luo Yicheng was a little tired, but seeing Qian Beibe, he still comforted her. "It's okay. It'll be over soon. In a few days, they'll forget all of this. Beibe, we're already married. It'll definitely be a little difficult at the beginning. After these days, I'll take you home and hold a lively wedding for you." Chapter 1107. Everyone who knew Qian Beibe knew that she had succeeded in getting married to Luo Yicheng while pregnant. Every time she went out and met someone, They would always ask her how she had managed to hold on to Luo Yiqing so tightly. The first 9 years, and the next 3 years. For a total of 12 years, her family had treated Luo Yiqing so badly that they even forced Luo Yiqing to divorce and be with her wholeheartedly. They even said that even a good person like Miss Tang could not move Luo Yiqing. They thought that Qian Beibei must have some special methods. He even asked her if she had raised a ghost, which was why Luo Yiqing's heart was so tightly grasped. Some of her former roommates who were close to her in university even secretly asked her if she worked hard in bed. Those words were as unpleasant as they could be. Qian Beibei was so angry that she wanted to die. She said on the spot that she and Luo Yiqing were truly in love and that they had missed each other because they were young and ignorant. But no one listened to her. They all told her not to quibble. If she did not have some tricks up her sleeve, how could she have held on to a man for 12 years just based on her feelings? Miss Tang was beautiful and talented. If it were another man, it would be normal for a man to be hell-bent on her in 3 months, let alone 3 years. Qian Beibei could not take it anymore. She could only leave in anger and swear that she would never interact with these people who spouted nonsense again. She and Luo Yiqing were truly in love. Why couldn't those people understand her? Not long after, she received many calls from people who used to know her. They were all asking about her and Luo Yiqing. Luo Yiqing and I were truly in love. We got back together. Miss Tang and Luo Yiqing had no feelings for each other. I only married Luo Yiqing after they divorced, Qian Beibei explained to her friend tiredly. Her friend was silent for a moment before she said, "But Beibei, counting the days, you were already pregnant during their marriage. It doesn't matter if you and Luo Yiqing are truly in love with each other, or if you're still in love with each other. During their marriage, you slept with him and even had a child with him. That means you're a mistress who intrudes into someone else's family. If Luo Yiqing is really a responsible person, he should have decisively ended the marriage when he found that he couldn't have feelings for Miss Tang and got back together with her again. Actually, Beibei, that year at Luo Yiqing's wedding, because your family wanted $660,000 as a betrothal gift, he turned around and asked Miss Tang if she was willing to marry him. Although your family is at fault in this matter, it's also because he didn't take responsibility. In the past, I thought that the two of you had nothing to do with each other, so I didn't talk about it. But today, I have to talk about it. If I had been in his shoes, I would have left in anger and never looked back at you. In my opinion, this man is cowardly, prideful, irresponsible, and treats relationships like child's play. Qing, how can you say that to Yiqing? At that time, it was all my mom and dad's fault. They wanted to prepare the money for my brother to buy a house, so they made things difficult for him. Yiqing did that because he was too angry. Beibei, no matter how angry you are, you shouldn't ruin someone else's youth and time. Whether it was back then or today, Luo Yiqing has always been an irresponsible man. Forget it, Qing. I thought you were my best friend and called to comfort me. I didn't expect you to be the same as everyone else. Qian Beibei hung up the phone, feeling extremely wronged. Was she wrong? Chapter 1108. She had loved Luo Yiqing for 12 years. 9 years of youth and 3 years of waiting. It had not been easy for her to finally bear fruit. Why did everyone blame her in the end? They said that she was a mistress, that she had used underhanded means to get to where she was. They even said that she was raising a ghost. Why couldn't these people see her doing well? Before long, Qian Beibei had yet to recover from her shock when she received a call from Niu Jinlan. How did Niu Jinlan know about such an important matter? At that time, she scolded Qian Beibei in an overwhelming manner. Hearing Qian Beibei crying, she felt very irritated. Wretched girl, you've really grown up. You actually got pregnant before Luo Yiqing even got divorced. You even dared to get married to Luo Yiqing in private. Are you trying to anger me to death? Why are you so worrisome? Haven't you thought about your family? Whenever Niu Jinlan went out now, people would stop her and ask her what was going on between Qian Beibei and Luo Yiqing. She heard that Qian Beibei was even pregnant. The news was spreading like wildfire in their neighborhood. Even if you can't forget Luo Yiqing, you don't have to make such a big fuss and let the whole world know. I get it. Are you afraid that I will stop you? So you want to make a big deal out of it? Qian Beibei was also very angry. She said, if you hadn't asked for $660,000 as a betrothal gift on the day of our wedding, would Luo Yiqing and I have broken up? Would things have come to this? Also, Yiqing and I are truly in love. He has no feelings for Miss Tang, so he divorced to be with me. Qian Beibei, do you know how terrible the rumors are now? So what? If they want to laugh at us, so be it. In any case, Yiqing and I will not break up. It will not go according to their wishes. Yiqing and I will love each other for the rest of our lives and raise our child together. And you, Mom, this time, Yiqing and I are already married. Don't even think about the betrothal gift. After that, Qian Beibei hung up the phone. This time, she would never let the betrothal gift affect her relationship with Yiqing. Since Yiqing could withstand the pressure to marry her, she could also withstand the pressure from her mother. She could no longer stop them from being together. After that, Qian Beibei basically did not go out. After Luo Yiqing got off work, she returned to the house she shared with Qian Beibei. They comforted and comforted each other, blocking out the voices outside. It was as if they could only hear each other's sweet words. In this state of self-deception, they were doing pretty well for the time being. Luo Yiqing thought that after Beibei gave birth to the child, his mother should be able to accept everything. Qian Beibei thought that this matter would soon pass. When her family realized that they could not dissuade her, they would slowly accept it. As for the gossipers outside, they would forget about this matter sooner or later. Everything would be fine. These were the words they used to comfort each other. They did not know that every time Niu Jinlan went out, she would come back angry. They also did not know that every time Mother Luo went to a party, she could feel many obscure and strange gazes, which made her face burn. We are old and can't control it. The young think differently from us. Mother Luo looked very pitiful. As a mother, I did not teach my son well. That's why I lost such a good daughter-in-law like Xiao Guo. The people at the party saw that Mother Luo had lost a lot of weight and felt some sympathy in their hearts. That woman did not marry into your family, did she? Chapter 11:09. Mother Luo sneered. How can I let her enter the Luo family? She got married without her parents' permission and even lived outside. To put it bluntly, this is called elopement. Yiqing hasn't even gotten a divorce yet, and she's already seduced him. I don't care about this kind of woman. I heard that she's pregnant with Yiqing's child. Weren't you looking forward to having a grandson a while ago? Mother Luo was silent for a moment and said, since she has Yiqing's bloodline, I can't deny it. You have to think about this carefully. Your family's future is bright now. You can't let this woman ruin it. Mother Luo was stunned for a moment and said, what do you mean? Think about it. This woman is now able to rely on her child to climb up the social ladder. She abducted your family's Yiqing and even bought a house to support her. How powerful is this method? In the future, your son will be your grandson. If your grandson makes you happy, you might accept her. Actually, it's none of your business. The more a mother meddles with the woman a man likes, the more she will ruin his good impression of her. It will also cause a gap between mother and son. Mother Luo nodded in agreement. She didn't directly go up to Qian Beibei because she was concerned about her relationship with Luo Yiqing. But you can't ignore it. If this goes on, your family's Yiqing will be easily abducted by her. Who knows, he might not even acknowledge you as his mother in the future. What's more frightening is that she will also control your family's finances. At that time, think about it yourself. When a man is happy and a woman coaxes him, who knows what he will give away? Mother Luo frowned. I've never asked about this before. Xiaogua has managed this family well. Tanggua is the daughter of the family Tang. Her family is rich, and she has a majority of the shares in your family's company. She doesn't care about this. Qian Beibei is different. I'm afraid you don't know. A few years ago, I heard that Qian Beibei's aunt introduced many old men to her because her mother couldn't afford her brother's betrothal gift. Their family is a blood-sucking place. Actually, I don't understand why your family's Yiqing cares so much about a daughter from a family like the Qian family. Back then, the Qian family looked down on your family's Yiqing, so they didn't get married. Mother Luo asked unhappily, What do you mean by the Qian family looking down on you? When Mother Luo asked this, the surrounding people were a little surprised. You didn't know? Yi Cheng's wedding, Mother's Mother Luo's family. Mrs. Luo grabbed the person who spoke and quickly asked, Actually, I've heard about this as well. It's said that on the day of your Yi Cheng's wedding, the Qian family forced him to take out 660,000 yuan as a betrothal gift. If he couldn't take it out, they wouldn't allow Qian Beibei to marry him. At that time, your family's Yi Cheng even asked the Qian Beibei if she wanted to leave with him. In the end, Qian Beibei rejected him. Later, your family's Yi Cheng asked Miss Tang, who had always liked him at the wedding, if she wanted to leave with him. Miss Tang really likes your family's Yi Cheng, and there were so many people at that time. She couldn't bear to let your family's Yi Cheng lose face again, so she had no choice but to agree. This girl is really silly. She's not a fool. She probably knew what would happen if she agreed, but she still agreed. Chapter 11:10. She probably wanted to slowly develop a relationship with your Yi Cheng. I didn't expect that after 3 years, she would still be hurt. After Mrs. Luo heard everything, she returned to the villa in a daze. Many days ago, the Tang family had come to take Tanghua home. How could she not know about the marriage between Yi Cheng and Xiaoguo? She felt a little sad. Was her son really stupid? It was her fault for not teaching him well. She had failed to keep such a good person. He deserved it. Lawyer Gu, your task has been completed. Actually, I'm no longer interested in this news. Tanghua dug into the ice cream in her bowl and ate it in small bites. What happens to the Luo family now has nothing to do with me. Gu Yi smiled. Take this as a gift from me. He glanced at the ice cream that was almost empty. Miss Tang, ice cream is cold. It's better for girls to eat less. It's not good for their health if they eat too much. I didn't eat much. It's because Lawyer Gu is very enthusiastic. Every time he asks me out, he will buy me a set. Tanghua said with a smile. Gu Yi looked at her smile, and his heart skipped a beat. She looked really beautiful when she smiled. This was his future wife. She was so beautiful and so cute. Everything was good, but she was especially difficult to deal with. She always liked to talk about other things, so he didn't have a chance to confess properly. Miss Tang. What? Lawyer Gu, I'm single now. There's no need for you to promote any business with me. No, Miss Tang, I have something very important to tell you. Tanghua stopped what she was doing and looked at Gu Yi. What is it? Lawyer Gu's expression still makes me think that you're going to promote some set meal to me. Yes, this time. I also want to recommend a unique set meal to Miss Tang. Gu Yi's expression became much more serious. If one observed carefully, they could feel that he was a little nervous. Tanghua chuckled. Lawyer Gu indeed. You never forget to solicit business. All right, I'll listen to what you're trying to sell me. However, Lawyer Gu, you should know that I don't need any set meal now. No, Miss Tang, you need it. Tanghua put down her spoon and lifted her chin slightly. She looked straight at Gu Yi and said, All right, Lawyer Gu, it's time for your promotion. 5 minutes. The corners of Gu Ye's mouth twitched. This woman was really infatuated with him. He coughed lightly, straightened his back, and looked at Tanghua with a serious look that had never been seen before. Miss Tang, the set meal I'm going to promote this time is one of a kind. This kind of set meal did not require Miss Tang to pay a single cent, nor did she need to spend any effort, nor did she need to worry about the expiration date. This is because this set meal is for life. Tanghua's eyebrows twitched. She was dying of laughter in her heart. System, he was dying of laughter too. The name of this set meal is Gu Yi. He is one of a kind in this world. The only thing Miss Tang needs to do is to accept it. He knows how to cook, do housework, earn money, is handsome, knows how to sweet talk and make you happy. Gu Yi looked at the smiling Tanghua and continued, he is very loyal. His loyalty belongs only to you. As long as you are willing, he will never betray you. He will always stand by your side, protect you, and care for you. Even if you want a star, he will pluck it for you. Chapter 11:11. Of course, he can also make ice cream with all kinds of flavors. In the future, even if you want to eat it in the middle of the night, he will make it for you. Miss Tang, the name of this package can also be called the perfect boyfriend. You deserve him. He will only move for you. After he finished speaking, Gu Ye's back was drenched in cold sweat. He was more nervous than when he was in court. As expected, this woman was the biggest problem in his life. What was even more frightening was that she was still smiling after he finished speaking. Her expression was different from what he had expected. So, this package is actually Lawyer Gu's self-recommendation? Tangwa finally spoke after a long time. Gu Yi sighed and quickly replied, "Yes, it is my self-recommendation. I have admired Miss Tang for a long time and finally have the chance to express my feelings. Miss Tang, I don't know if you're willing to give me a chance. Once I, Gu Yi, make up my mind, I will keep my word. If you give me a chance, I will not let you down. I will be responsible for you for the rest of my life." Lawyer Gu's self-recommendation is very sincere. Tangwa smiled. "But I have just become single, and I don't want to date yet. My previous relationship left a psychological scar on me. Now, I want to live a free life. Also, what I want to do the most now is to make money. I will make money." Gui quickly said, "In the future, all my money will be yours." Seeing Tangwa's smiling face, he continued to cheer her up. "What is yours will still be yours. What is mine will still be yours. I will always be yours." System, what a joke. This stingy Guyi really knew how to take advantage of the situation. Tangwa rested her chin on her hand and looked up. "But I don't want to date yet. It's okay. I will wait until you feel like dating." Guyi had already decided that he would not give up until he won her heart in this lifetime. Tangwa smiled. "Since Lawyer Gu is so sincere and you like me, I can't reject you directly. If you want to wait, I can't stop you, right?" Guyi was overjoyed. How could he not understand that this was an opportunity for him? "Yes, I will show you my sincerity." Tangwa stood up. "I'm no longer interested in the Luo family. Lawyer Gu, you don't have to tell me about them anymore. After 3 years of hard work, I'm a little tired. I plan to go on a trip to relax." Guya's expression changed and he asked, "Is Miss Tang alone?" "No, I'll hire bodyguards and assistants." Tangwa smiled brightly. "Anyway, I have money. Even if I don't work, there will be people working hard to make money for me every day." Hearing this, Guyi thought of Luo Yiqing, who worked hard every day. He deeply agreed. This cow was going to make money for his wife for the rest of her life. His wife was really smart. She could even come up with such a plan. The most important thing was that the bull was willing to do it. When the Tang family found out that Tangwa wanted to go on a trip, they were worried. When she said that she wanted to find bodyguards and assistants, Mother and Father Tang immediately took over the matter and said that they would personally choose the person. 3 days later, the two of them told Tangwa that they had found a suitable person. They were full of praise and even said that this person was worth 10 people. His boxing skills were not bad. He was tall and strong and looked very energetic. He knew how to cook and his voice was quite pleasant. He could even speak many languages. This person could completely satisfy their precious daughter's needs. He also had all kinds of professional certificates and experience traveling around the world. They were very assured. Chapter 11:12. Tangwa felt that there was no problem, so she agreed. Mrs. Tang and Mr. Tang invited the bodyguard cum assistant in. When they saw Guyi, the system laughed so hard that the numbers were all over the place. He knew that there was something wrong with the person who was praised so much. When Tangwa saw Guyi, she was slightly stunned, but she was not surprised. "Dad, Mom, isn't he Lawyer Gu?" "That's right, he's Lawyer Gu." Mrs. Tang smiled and said, "Lawyer Gu is really not bad. Although his reputation is a little bad, he has helped us with a lot of things." "Xiaogua, do you have any prejudice against Lawyer Gu?" "We have been in contact with Lawyer Gu for the past few years. He is definitely not the kind of person that people say he is," Mr. Tang added. Tang Ming and Tang Feng nodded. "Lawyer Gu can be quite good sometimes." "Sister, don't worry. After thinking about it, we don't trust other people we don't know. Speaking of which, we really feel a lot more at ease when we work with Lawyer Gu. Guyi was a little stingy, but he was reliable in his work. Moreover, he only acknowledged his first employer. In this aspect, he was very trustworthy. Of course, sister, if you are not satisfied, we can change the person. Although the Tang family felt that Guyi was not bad, if their baby did not like it, they could change the person. They did not think that there was anything wrong with Guyi taking on this job. This was because in their eyes, Guyi was a person who would make money if he had money. He would definitely not miss it. He was a little stingy, but he was reliable in his work. They had offered such a high price, so it was not strange that Guyi would take on the job. Moreover, in the past 3 years, Mrs. Tang and Mr. Tang had been looking for Guyi to do things for them from time to time. He could really do things perfectly. Although he had a bad reputation and was rumored to be a stingy person, he was actually a good person. He was not stingy to them. They felt that Lawyer Gu treated different people differently. They had never thought that Guyi would have other intentions, such as snatching away their precious baby. Tangwa walked up to Guyi with her arms crossed and asked with a smile, "Okay, Lawyer Gu it is then. However, I am a very troublesome and lazy person. Since Lawyer Gu has accepted this case, you are not allowed to despise me for being troublesome." "That won't happen." Gu Ye's eyes were filled with joy. It wasn't troublesome at all. His wife's business was his business. If it weren't for the fact that he was afraid that the family Tang people would suspect him, he would have done it for free. Wasn't it natural for him to be his wife's bodyguard and assistant? Why would he need money? He had to be stingy with everyone, but he had to be generous with his wife. His entire being belonged to his wife. What else could he not give her? Chapter 11:13. Guyi was very excited. He quickly squeezed his future wife's small hand and carefully led her up. "System, I can already feel the host's great joy. This guy is really not bad. He really knows how to please the host." For 4 hours, Guyi held Tangwa's hand the entire time. From time to time, he would ask if she could still walk. If she couldn't walk, he would carry her. The system couldn't help but guess that all of Gu Ye's gentleness and meticulousness in this lifetime had been used on the host. At first, they were walking hand in hand, but when they reached the narrow plank road, he simply took advantage of the situation and wrapped his arms around Tangwa's waist. The two of them were tightly pressed against each other. Guyi felt that the world was complete at that moment. "Lawyer Gu, when you usually take advantage of loopholes, do you do the same thing as now? Do you immediately take advantage of the slightest opportunity?" Tangwa asked. She had no intention of breaking free from Gu Ye's grasp. Guyi gently supported Tangwa's waist and said softly, "If I didn't take the initiative, how could I be standing here with you? Miss Tang is the most beautiful cloud in the sky. Only the wind can catch up to you." Puffed. Tangwa couldn't help but laugh. "So, you're the wind?" "Yes, I'm the wind and you're the cloud." "I thought you were going to say that you're the wind and I'm the sand. How can the sand be more beautiful than the clouds? Especially the clouds in the morning and at night. They're the most beautiful." Guyi held Tangwa's hand tightly. "My favorite thing to see are the clouds at night and in the morning. They're the most beautiful." System. This scheming boy. Looking at the clouds in the morning meant that he could spend the night with his host. When he woke up in the morning, he would see his host beside him. Looking at the clouds at night meant that he could spend the day with his host and sleep with her at night. Didn't that mean that he could hug his host and look at her? Together, it meant that he wanted to spend the day and night with his host. Sure enough, he was a scheming person who liked to take advantage of loopholes. The adult world was really full of colors. "Lawyer Gu, you said you know how to make ice cream, right?" Guyi quickly replied, "Of course." "When did you learn it?" Tangwa was a little curious. Men shouldn't like such things too much. She had never seen Guyi eat anything sweet before. He didn't seem to like sweet things either. Guyi recalled the days when he learned how to make ice cream. He smiled and replied, "It should have been more than 2 years ago." "Oh, I remember that Lawyer Gu doesn't like sweets. Why would she want to learn how to make ice cream?" Tangwa asked, even though she already knew the answer. Guyi was a smart man. His eyes became more serious as he said honestly, "Because you like to eat." I think that once you learn how to cook, I can cook for you whenever you want to eat in the future. Lawyer Gu is such a thoughtful person. Tangwa said, you're also quite scheming. Lawyer Gu has such skills. If you really put in the effort, I'm afraid there aren't many women in the world who can resist your coaxing, right? But I only want to coax you, Gu Yi said regretfully. I don't know if I can coax her back. Lawyer Gu, you have to work harder. I'm the kind of person who's hard to coax. If I get angry, I can't be coaxed back. Tangwa tilted her head and looked straight at Gu Yi. I accept your intentions, but you have to think it through, Lawyer Gu. You can recall what happened to Luo Yiqing. This is the consequence of offending me. Gu Yi smiled. His heart was full of joy and excitement. I've already thought about it. The second time I saw you, I'm attracted to you. Chapter 11:14. Ever since I found out that you were planning to divorce Luo Yiqing, I've been restraining myself from messing with Luo Yiqing every day. I know that you only see him as a perpetual money-making machine. I shouldn't be jealous of a machine. I've been waiting and waiting. I've been waiting for so long that I'm about to die. But you've finally gotten a divorce. Miss Tang, I really want to be with you for the rest of my life. I'm willing to love you for the rest of my life. Gu Ye's expression was very solemn. So, can we be together? I can guarantee that my heart and body will only belong to you. Do you want to give it a try? System. This was a colorful courtship sentence. God, why was he so dirty? She had been tainted by Gu Ye's stinginess. Tangwa lowered her eyes and smiled. Gu Ye was extremely nervous. She could even hear his heartbeat. After a minute, she finally raised her head. She could feel that his palms were sweaty. She said, if Lawyer Gu isn't afraid, then let's do it. And I'll say this first. You have to do what you say. If you can't do it, then don't make any promises. Of course, Gu Ye was unusually excited. He hugged her tightly. The feeling of hugging his wife was simply too wonderful. He would never do anything bad or betray his wife. He had finally managed to coax her. How could he follow in Luo Yiqing's footsteps? The woman in his arms right now was his treasure. The treasure that he would cherish for the rest of his life. In the following time, the system was stuffed with a lot of dog food. He looked at the people around him with different expressions on their faces. He felt a little sympathetic. These people must have been stuffed with a lot of dog food. Guagua, are you thirsty? Do you want something to drink? Ice cream? You've already eaten 2 today, so you're not allowed to eat ice cream today. Have some drinks. They're sweet and taste good. And after walking for so long, your legs must be sore. Put your legs on me, and I'll help you rub your calves. It won't hurt tomorrow. It's a little cold on the mountain. I put a jacket in my bag. It's just in time. When the wind blew, Gu Ye took out a jacket from his bag and put it on Tangwa, hugging her. This scene made the eyes of a few couples who were shivering in the cold wind to twinkle with stars. Look at other people's boyfriends. Water, drinks, snacks, and jackets are all prepared. Look at my family. They're empty-handed. They only have a mobile phone and a wallet. They say that everything is sold on the mountain. Can it be compared? I can't compare. They went up the mountain. Other people's boyfriends gave their girlfriends water, rubbed their legs, asked about their well-being, and put on their jackets. My boyfriend carried his camera and went to take pictures of the scenery. System. Sympathy. Tangwa couldn't help but laugh as she listened to the girls' whispers. Gu Ye whispered to her, Guagua, don't you think a perfect boyfriend like me is very useful? It's very practical to bring me along wherever I go. It's very useful. Tangwa touched Gu Ye's face and said softly. Gu Ye took the opportunity to say, then bring me along wherever you go in the future, okay? Don't you want to earn money? Lawyer Gu, if you don't earn money, how are you going to support me? Baby Gu Ye felt bitter. Why did his wife love money more than him? Fortunately, he was already prepared. He sat beside her and placed Tangwa's legs on his lap, gently helping her massage her calves. Guagua has already found a perpetual money-making machine. I've also found quite a few. Now, most of the things are done by my subordinates. Most of the time, I just sit there and collect the money. P.S. Readers, I'm Du Shua. I recommend a free app that supports downloading, listening to books, zero ads, and multiple reading modes. Please follow book friends. Quickly follow. Peak. Now that he had finally coaxed his wife, of course, he had to accompany his wife on a happy trip around the world. The people in the studio called him many times and said a lot of things anxiously. In the end, Guyi said lightly, "Without me, will your lives be in danger?" "No, Lawyer Gu. Then think of a way yourselves. I'm not your father. You can't come to me if you're in trouble, right? Think of a way to solve it yourselves. This is a good opportunity to improve your personal abilities." Peak. Chapter 11:16. Please remember that you are all adults. You have to learn to solve your own problems. Huron went Inicom. With that, he hung up the phone and hugged his wife's waist, preparing to go to the bottom of the sea to play. The people in the studio listened to the busy tone on the phone with a bitter expression. "How was it?" Boss asked if we would die without him. I said no, and he said that he is not our father. We can't look for him whenever we are in trouble. He also said that we are all adults and have to learn to solve our own problems. Wow, I really don't want to grow up. The colleagues. The boss found a good excuse. Did he think that they did not look at his WeChat moments and did not know that he was showing off his beautiful girlfriend every day? He forgot about his friends when he saw a beauty. He did not do his job properly. With a beauty, he forgot about his country. Tangwa's life was very good, but Qian Beibei's life was not so good. In the first few months, she did not go out and did not answer the phone, avoiding a lot of trouble. But because she was pregnant and did not go to work, coupled with all kinds of troubles, she always felt uneasy. In the beginning, Luo Yiqing comforted her and coaxed her every day. Later on, Luo Yiqing was tired from work and fell asleep when he came back, and the two of them talked less. However, every time she reminded him, Luo Yiqing would apologize to her or something. She felt much more at ease. Seeing that the child would be born in 2 months, she could not help but ask when they would hold the wedding and how Mother Luo was doing. "Beibei, don't worry. I will go back and discuss it with my mother tomorrow." Okay. The next day, Luo Yiqing returned to the villa that he had not returned to for a long time. Mother Luo saw him and did not have any intention of scolding him. He said, "Mom, Beibei will give birth in 2 months. I know. I have been counting the days." Mother Luo said expressionlessly, "Why, you finally remembered to come back today? Mom, are you still angry?" Mother Luo looked up and looked at Luo Yiqing. "You are my son. How long can I be angry with you? Tell me, why did you come back this time?" "Mom, Beibei is about to give birth. Shouldn't we give her a wedding?" A wedding without the parents of both parties was not a wedding. As long as both parents were present, he and Beibei were truly married. Mrs. Luo sneered in her heart and said, "Yiqing, are you really going to marry Qian Beibei?" "Yes, Mom. I can't let her go." "Yiqing, have you ever thought that you can't blame anyone for your misunderstandings? You can only blame yourselves for not being firm enough. If she had resisted earlier, you too would have been married. If you persist a little longer, you might be together." "I know I was wrong, Mom. That's why I got back together with Beibei. I've decided not to separate." Seeing that Luo Yiqing did not understand what she meant, Mrs. Luo stopped persuading her and said, "We can have a wedding, but I have a condition." "Mom, go ahead." Mother Luo took a deep breath. "I'll take care of this family in the future. When I'm 100 years old, I'll hand it over to you." "Mom, what do you mean?" "What I mean is that you will hand over the financial power to me for the time being. All the money you earn, except for your expenses, will be handed over to me and I will distribute it." "Yiqing, don't you know what kind of person I am? Are you afraid that I will take your money?" Mother Luo smiled and said, "I don't lack money. Back then, Xiaoguo brought me into the stock market and made a lot of investments. I even invested some money in your brother-in-law's pig farm. I have shares, so I don't lack money." Peak. Chapter 11:17. I Ching. I'm doing this for your own good. Qian Beibei is so soft-hearted. How can she not subsidize their family? She might even buy a big house for her brother. You might even have to take care of her brother in the future. Enicom, seeing that Luo Yiqing was still hesitating, Mother Luo said, Yiqing, don't forget that you almost lost face at your wedding. If you hadn't met Xiaoguo, that kind child, would you be where you are today? Qian Beibei may be a simple girl, but she's soft-hearted. You should have known from the wedding that she couldn't stand being cheated by her family. I'll help you look after this family. When I'm dead, the Qian family won't be able to interfere. Don't you think so? Mom, I'll listen to you. I'll leave all the financial power to you in the future. Luo Yiqing also thought about the wedding. Even if he loved Qian Beibei, there would always be a knot in his heart. 1 ton and 1 t/I, he could forgive Qian Beibei, but he couldn't forgive the Qian family. Mrs. Luo smiled and said, all right then, you can take care of the wedding yourself. Young people like different things from us old people. After all, with your current status, your wedding can't be too bad. Otherwise, you'll be laughed at. As for whether Qian Beibei could take it or not, she didn't care. Her son was muddle-headed, but she couldn't be muddle-headed. She couldn't control whether they got married or not. She could only hold on to her son's money so that he wouldn't be cheated by the Qian family. By the way, when the child is born in the future, if you don't have time to take care of him, you can leave him with me. I'm free anyway. Luo Yiqing was delighted. Did his mother accept Beibei? Mother Luo thought that the child was the blood of the Luo family. She couldn't be led astray by Qian Beibei. When the time came, he would collude with the Qian family to cheat her son of his money. If that was the case, it was better to keep him by her side and teach him well. He definitely couldn't become a tool used by Qian Beibei. Looking at that woman who only liked to be entangled in love, he was afraid that she would not be able to take good care of the child. Xiaoguo was gone. She was no longer her good daughter-in-law. She was such a good person. She was just not blessed. Luo Yiqing excitedly returned to her home in Qian Beibei and passed on her mother's message. Qian Beibei was happy to hear that Mother Luo was willing to help her take care of her child. She thought that Mother Luo had accepted her. She did not intend to be a stay-at-home mother. In the past few months of pregnancy, she had been very uneasy. She had already made up her mind to start working after she gave birth to the child. Yiqing, I want to start working after the child is born. Now that Mom is helping me, I can divert my attention to my career. I'll go to your company. What do you think? Luo Yiqing nodded. He can go. With Beibei's ability, he'll definitely be promoted very quickly. He's going to be promoted? Qian Beibei was a little puzzled. Luo Yiqing replied, this is a rule set by all the shareholders of the company. All the members of the company can recommend people they know to the company, even if it's me, the manager. However, everyone has to be tested before they can go to a position that they are qualified for. Actually, this plan was proposed by Xiaoguo. Because there were more people in Luo village who joined the company, this rule was set in order to balance out the others. Now, everyone was very happy. Everyone had a chance to recommend capable people. The company would not lose anything, and the members of the company did not have any objections. Peak. Chapter 11:18. You mean that we have to start from the bottom, right? Yes, Beibei. I believe you can do it. Enicom. Qian Beibei nodded. Okay, then let's start from the bottom. Otherwise, people will say that I always rely on you. Yiqing, don't worry. I won't embarrass you. She had graduated from a prestigious university and had worked for so many years. How could she not be qualified for a position in the company? Luo Yiqing was going to have her wedding with Qian Beibei, so she wanted to meet the Qian family. Niu Jinlan looked at Qian Beibei's big belly and finally compromised. She pulled Qian Beibei to talk about the betrothal gifts. Just as she said one word, Qian Beibei's expression changed. Mom, I advise you not to mention this again. Can't I at least show my sincerity? I don't want much. We're getting married, so I have to show my sincerity. Luo Yiqing is not poor. And Luo Yiqing heard Niu Jinlan's muttering and was about to say that she still had to give the betrothal gifts. However, Qian Beibei said, "Mom, have you forgotten what happened last time? I Ching and I are already married. Isn't it just a wedding? I Ching is still supporting me now. Don't go overboard." Okay, 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 whatever. Niu Jinlan didn't want much betrothal gifts. 1 or 200,000 would be enough. No matter what, they were getting married. Qian Beibei was also her daughter. If she didn't want anything and just married him, she didn't know what he would think. "I Ching has my name on that house," Qian Beibei said softly. Niu Jinlan relaxed when she heard this. If that was the case, her Beibei really had Luo Yiqing's heart firmly in his grasp. Niu Jinlan's heart skipped a beat. She didn't insist on the betrothal gifts anymore. As long as her Beibei went to the Luo family in the future and became the head of the Luo family, the betrothal gifts were indeed nothing. Luo Yiqing's heart was with Beibei. Then everything that Luo Yiqing had belonged to her Beibei. In this way, Luo Yiqing and Qian Beibei held their wedding ceremony. Because Luo Yiqing's current status was not low, many people came. This was indeed an era where people laughed at the poor but not at the prostitutes. Moreover, Miss Tang did not withdraw her investment, nor did she fall out with Luo Yiqing. There was no reason for them not to come. When Miss Tang went to travel around the world, she even told them that she had a share in that company. She hoped that everyone would do what they were supposed to do. Moreover, the company's prospects were really good, and the cooperation would not end because of Luo Yiqing's divorce. Previously, he had only considered it because he was afraid of the pressure from the Family Tang incident. Now that the Family Tang group was not doing anything, they could just pretend that they did not know anything. Of course, in private, they still despised Luo Yiqing and Qian Beibei. Especially the rich wives in the circle. What they hated the most was for mistresses to get to the top and have children. When Qian Beibei attended all kinds of gatherings, she was always the one who was ignored and ridiculed. Over time, she did not attend any gatherings with Luo Yiqing. When Luo Yiqing saw that she was unwilling to go, he could only bring his mother and elder sister along when he attended. Of course, this was a story for later. After the wedding, Qian Beibei proposed to move into the villa. Luo Yiqing had already forgotten that this villa actually belonged to Tanghua, so she readily agreed. Seeing that Qian Beibei was about to give birth, Mother Luo did not argue and let her move in. On the first day of moving in, Luo Yiqing thought about the housekeeper and mentioned to Qian Beibei, "Mom has always been in charge of our family. Now that you are pregnant and about to give birth, you still need Mom to take care of you. Beibei, do you mind this?" "Of course not. Yiqing, what do you take me for? The peak." Chapter 11:19. I just want to be with you. I don't care about these worldly possessions. Inicom, that's good. I know that Beibei cares about our relationship the most. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been with me for so long. When we first started, I was still a poor boy. Yiqing, it's good that you know. As long as I'm with you, I'm very happy. I don't care about anything else. Back then, it was because my mother loved money that caused us to separate. In the future, let's not hurt our relationship because of this. After the two of them talked to each other, they hugged each other and fell asleep. Mother Luo didn't treat Qian Beibei unfairly. She gave her what she needed to eat and what she needed to use. Qian Beibei thought that Mother Luo had accepted her, so she called her mother happily. Sister Luo had also come, but she only greeted her coldly. They weren't familiar with each other, so she didn't ask for anything. She and Sister Luo, a woman from the countryside, didn't have much in common. Even if Sister Luo's man became rich, she still couldn't change her background and habits. "Mom, why did you let her live here?" Sister Luo's face was full of dissatisfaction. Xiao Guo brought them into the upper class, and also brought them to make investments and help them enroll in classes. It was too unkind of her to do this. This house still belongs to Xiao Guo. She was just short of saying that Qian Beibei didn't have the right to live here. Xiao Guo doesn't care, but we can't do this. Don't worry, Mom knows. When Xiao Guo comes back, I'll ask Yiqing to give Xiao Guo the money for the villa. In the end, we're the ones who let her down. I've been a good person all my life. I really didn't expect such a thing to happen to my family. Sister Luo sighed. All right, this time, I'm afraid Xiaoguo won't come to us. It's better that she doesn't come here. Xiaoguo should know about I Ching and Qian Beibei. Mother Luo frowned. She's a smart girl. She just doesn't say it out loud. She has already done everything she can for us. Otherwise, she could have casually withdrawn her investment and made I Ching go bankrupt. Yeah, Xiaoguo is such a nice person, Big Sister Luo said. Should she be glad that they still had business dealings with each other? Xiaoguo's personality was also good, so they would not become enemies. Not long after, Qian Beibei gave birth to a son. She chose to give birth naturally because she wanted to go to work earlier so that she could see Luo I Ching every day. After the confinement, she threw the child to Mrs. Luo. Mrs. Luo didn't say anything. She would take good care of her child while attending the party. Tangguo returned a few years later. She and Guyi spent 3 years traveling around the world. They had been to both fun places and dangerous places. The family Tang people had basically accepted the two of them. At every new place, they would take a set of wedding photos. Previously, only the family Tang people could see Tangguo's WeChat moments. Guye's WeChat moments were also only seen by the people in his studio. When they took their first set of wedding photos, they announced it to everyone in their WeChat moments. Now, everyone knew that Tangguo and Misergu were together. They all wondered if there was something wrong with this girl's brain. How could she find such a stingy man? Luo I Ching also thought the same when he saw the photos. There was some pain in his eyes. He thought that Tangguo had given up on herself and even called her to ask about it. Peak. Chapter 11:20. Of course, it didn't get through. Tangguo's phone number had already been changed. Intercom after returning, Tangguo and Guyi prepared to get married. Guyi came to the door with a thick stack of documents in his hands. Before the family members could ask, he pushed these documents to them. After the family members finished reading, they were extremely shocked. Tang Ming and Tang Feng looked at Guyi with an expression that said, "Is this guy crazy?" He actually transferred all the assets and shares under his name to their sister's name. How much courage did he need to do this? They wouldn't have known if they didn't see it. This guy really knew how to make money. He had shops and real estate in many cities in the country. He even had several villas overseas and even wineries. This was not an ordinary amount of money. How many people had he stolen from? But now, it was all their sisters. Mrs. Tang and Mr. Tang looked at each other and said, "Little Gu, we've seen your relationship with Guo all these years. Actually, you don't have to do this." Their family did not lack money, although the things here would tempt anyone. You two like each other and are very important to each other. As long as you love and respect each other in the future and treat Xiaoguo well, it's fine. I believe in your character. Mr. Tang said, "Moreover, our family's daughter doesn't care about these things. We can afford to raise her. We've already seen your sincerity. But I want to give it to you." Guyi said, "Before I met Xiaoguo, my only interest was to make money. Maybe it was because I was afraid of being poor when I was young. But when I made money, I didn't know how to spend it. In the end, I could only make more money. Now that I have Xiaoguo, I finally know how to spend it. That is, I give all my money to Xiaoguo to spend. As long as she's happy, I'm happy." Tang Ming and Tang Feng looked at each other. Oh my god, this stingy Gu was clearly a baby Gu. A baby. The kind that only knew how to make money and not spend it. "Dad, Mom, stop trying to persuade me. You don't want it, but I do." Tangguo placed all the documents in front of her. "From now on, everything that Lawyer Gu owns belongs to me. He belongs to me." Gu Ye's face was filled with a blissful smile. He had been waiting for these words for a long time. Yes, everything he had was Guoguo's, and he was also Guoguo's. Holding a wedding definitely required time to prepare. Before this, elder sister Luo contacted Tangguo. "Xiaoguo, make some time to come over. That villa was originally under your name. Mom told me about it. Let's see if you want the villa or if we'll give you the money for the villa and transfer it to Mom. You can stay if you like," Tangguo said. "How can that be?" "Xiaoguo, come over. Many things are different now. We all feel sorry for you. If we don't solve this problem, we won't feel at ease. Tangwa replied, All right then, I'll come over tomorrow. I haven't seen you guys in so many years. Is Auntie Luo doing well? She's doing fine. She's in good health, but she misses you a little. The next day, Tangwa went to the villa. Mother Luo pulled her aside and chatted a lot. She also asked about Guyi. Guyi is a good person. We've been traveling all these years. We're getting married soon. Auntie Luo, you don't have to worry. He even transferred all his assets to me. He loves money so much. It's enough to prove his sincerity. I also know how it feels to be loved. Mother Luo and elder sister Luo's hearts ached when they heard this. They didn't have any prejudice against Guyi. He was just better than Luo Yiqing. So what could they do? Peak. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.